Hey everyone, welcome to We Have a Plan for That. I'm your host, Marilyn Trent, and this is episode 2. And I could not be more excited about today's guest. When I first came up with the idea for this podcast, I never imagined Dr. Doug Tallamy would be one of my very first guests. But he is, and Dr. Tallamy is widely known as the founder of the Backyard Native Plant Movement. And I was lucky enough to sit down with him at the Wildflower Association of Michigan's 39th annual Wildflower Conference. Yeah, that's a mouthful. But that was where Dr. Tallamy was the keynote speaker. Hey, just a quick heads up. There's a little background noise at the top of the recording with some enthusiastic attendees. But what he had to say was too good to cut. So please stick with it. It clears up fast. And here's my conversation with Dr. Tallamy. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And thanks for listening.
I'm excited to welcome Dr. Doug Tallamy, a professor of entomology and wildlife ecology. And you still teach at the University of Delaware.
I do. Well, this is my last semester.
You are an influential author, Nature's Best Hope. Just happen to have them here. And the nature of oaks that have really made an impression and changed people's minds about their landscapes. When I hear you talk, you've got a PhD in this, but you can bring it down to my level, which I'm a graphic designer. I had no idea what was happening in my backyard. And that's what flipped my switch. I thought everybody needs to know this. They do. My first question is that when you throw bringing nature home, the idea that ordinary yards could become conservation spaces was pretty radical.
Did I know that that was what was happening? Yeah, it's obvious. And I was watching it happen in my own house. But was it common knowledge even in conservation organizations? No, people weren't talking about it. They didn't have that really important connection between insects and plants. You've got to use the plants to make the insects because insects are driving the food. No insects, no birds, or anything else. So that was the missing part. I had to get that message out. That's why I wrote the book.
So did you realize or think what a change it would make, how much traction it would get?
No, I knew it was important. I knew I wanted to write the book, but I didn't think anybody would read it.
Well, you were humble because you think it started, and many other things, it started the backyard. When you started talking about it, as we said, native plants, it was a niche topic, and now we're seeing, even in garden centers, the native plants. I do worry that they're going to not get the true natives, but, there's that.
Yeah. We're moving in the right direction. Demand for native plants exceeds the supply. That's a good sign. So nursery centers are going to follow that. They just want to sell plants.
That's right.
Not that they care about native or non-native. They just want to sell plants. And in the past, natives did not sell. So there's a little transition convincing themselves that natives do sell. That's happening. And more, even the Home Depot folks are starting to carry a few more natives. So
I saw that. I'm a small business owner, so I can hit a lot of nails here. I'm also on city council of City of Rochester, so I have made some traction there. We have banned neonicotinoids on our public lands. So we were the first, I think we're the first and only one in Michigan that has done that.
wonderful.
And I see that you're expanding your awareness and your message through Homegrown National Park.org. So I want to give a plug for that. I think that's the only way to reach a larger audience. It's why I'm starting this podcast. And it's incredibly optimistic because I do remember you saying at one point we had 40 million acres of lawn.
Now it's 44 million acres of lawn.
And now you want everybody to take half their lawn and give it back to nature. As it's grown, what type of traction or interest is happening with Homegrown National Parks? I do remember when you first launched it.
No, it's great. It's growing rapidly. We've got about 48,000 people who have registered their properties on the biodiversity map. We've got 700 organizations that have registered what they're doing on the biodiversity map. They've committed to restoring 170,000 acres. That's great. It's not the 20 million that we're after, but you've got to start somewhere. And it's one movement growth here. It's growing very, very quickly. Our constraint is our size. We're just a few people, so. And we don't charge because we're not trying to pull people away from other organizations. The goal is how do we reach that non-choir? You use social media, you use all the things that I typically don't do, but we hire people that do. And it's working, it really is.
Yes,
Good,
yes,
good.
I really was. And I think that the instructions and the response from people, and I was having a little bit of a hard time adding additional locations of our native plant gardens in our city
Do the map.
to the map. And I got a response, because we have 8 gardens and 1.5 acres of restored prairie, and then we have a southern wet meadow.
Yeah, the tech challenge of that map has been enormous. It's very expensive to
That's
run.
what I wondered.
And we've changed the direction a couple of times, but trying to get it so that it's easy. If it's not easy, people aren't going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're still working on that.
Well,
but-
you made it easy for people to understand it's simple that they can plant native plants. So,
Well, yeah.
you know, it's
We also
great.
want the record on there so we know how we're doing.
So you popularized the idea of keystone plants, and if someone only has room for a few species, how would you prioritize what to plant? But I know it's regional.
Right.
Is it?
Well, it depends on where you are. It really
Okay.
is. It's, if you're in the lowlands of Arizona, it's not oak trees. But if you go in the mountains of Arizona, it is oak trees. So you have to know your ecoregion. That's what that native plant finder in the National Wildlife Federation website is, because you can find out the best plants in your county. That's how you would prioritize them. Should you only plant keystone plants? No, the others are good too. And there's keystone for what? There's keystone for caterpillars, but there's also keystone for pollinators. Sometimes they're the same plants, but sometimes they're different. So the more knowledge you have, the better you're going to do. But the whole keystone concept was a surprise to us. Before it was native versus non-native. Then we realized, well, it's really just a few natives doing most of the work. We've got to focus on them.
So you did discover this. When did you discover the keystone theory?
We published that in, 2024.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, no, it's new.
Many people do assume they need acres to make a difference. Your message is how much impact can actually happen in a small yard or even container pots.
Right. I have a picture of an apartment complex. Everybody's got a balcony. There's not a single plant on it. So it's a pile of bricks. It's not contributing anything ecologically. But if everybody put container plants on their balcony, if it became the norm instead of the exception, it would be a wonderful resource for native bees in urban situations. And that's just one apartment complex. If everybody did it, really, we could green up our cities. Think of Singapore. It is truly the greenest city in the world because they have work done. They lead ecotourism trips right downtown in Singapore because of all the wildlife that's there, because they put the plants back. So we can do that to our cities. We just have to get serious about it.
Well, just from a layman, I've looked it up. It's just such a miracle that you put this patio at my mother's assisted living. And I planted goldenrod, nodding onion, and one milkweed. And a monarch found it.
You sure? Yeah.
And we had 2 caterpillars. And we had...
They eat all the leaves and you had
They
to
didn't
move
eat
it?
all of them, actually.
Okay.
And then and a chrysalis.
Wonderful.
And I was underneath the little lip, and I think the
Uh-huh.
other wandered off. My understanding is monarchs can smell milkweed from, 50 feet or very high.
I don't know what the distance is,
But-
but that's how insects find their host plants. All plants are putting up a perfume, floating around up there. They smell it and they just zero in on it. How far away? I think it's more than 50 feet.
Yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to ask one thing, and this is about policy. And I know you mentioned it. In our city and municipalities, we can make policies about the use of insecticides, pesticides. We could put it in our master plan, and we have to plant native plants. We have a developer, a list of native plants and trees and shrubs to give to a developer when they're coming to the planning commission. And we can give them this list instead of a boxwood, we're going to try New Jersey tea or plant different replacement plants. So that's what we're doing as a city. I think they're afraid to tell me no.
Whatever the reason, you're doing wonderful things.
And then also invasive species. Because I do believe it's policy that's going to help accelerate this, always.
Yeah. It's ridiculous that we're spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of labor, removing invasives from our natural areas, and then we sell them in our nurseries. This makes no sense. We just banned all invasives in Delaware. Can't sell them. And you know who was all for it? Was the nursery industry. Because there are responsible people in the nursery industry, but if they didn't sell these plants, they were at a competitive disadvantage. So they wanted a top-down ban so that nobody could sell them, and then they were not at a disadvantage. So it's not, you hear the nurseries say, oh, you're going to put us out of business. No. We're saying we're going to reduce 44 million acres of lawn and put plants there. That's not going to put nurserymen out of business. We're talking about more plants. We just want to change the inventory.
That's excellent, because MDAR now, at our Michigan Department of Agricultural Development, I've testified once at one of their meetings, and now the other meeting is coming up on the 18th. MDAR is recommending to ban 6 invasive species. And I have my 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about the same thing. How can we work with the growers? How can we work together to make this work for both of us? Because it's exactly right. That's what I said. You're burning down the house, then you build it, you burn down the house, you build it again, and it's costing taxpayers. It's just insidious that they keep selling them. And on government side, when I talk to other DPW, because I'm spreading that word with other cities, they're cutting down and dealing with invasive species. A lot of buckthorn, Japanese barberry, they know it by the back of their hand. So when growers say, I didn't know that was a problem.
We've known it for decades. They're
So
ecological tumors. They don't stay where we plant them, and they castrate ecologically local ecosystems. They're out there, they're already doing it, but to continue selling it, it's unconscionable. It makes no sense, and it doesn't even make economic sense. So
It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's where I think that I can hopefully get through to them. And then to say, let's work together. I'm a small business owner. I know you need to sell something, but why don't you sell the right thing?
And don't forget to give them the stats that are supporting us. We've lost 3 billion breeding birds in the last 50 years. We're not making the bird food that they need to reproduce. Do you really want that on your conscience as a nurseryman because you're selling things that don't produce any bird food? They may not know all that.
Yeah, that's great. I am going to add that in. Yes, I am. Is there anything that you think I missed or you want to add?
Yeah, I want to talk about personal responsibility.
Okay.
Every person on the planet requires healthy ecosystems. Right now, we've got a system where a conservation biologist and an ecologist, few people are trying to keep those ecosystems healthy. Everybody else has a green light to wreck them. That makes no sense. I think because everybody needs ecosystem function, everybody is responsible for keeping it that way. We've got to make this the default norm in our society. So think about the personal responsibility. A little piece of the earth that you say you own, then you own the responsibility of keeping that piece functioning. That's all you have to worry about, your little piece of the earth. And it's fun, it's not hard, and we really need it.
You did a great speech, and your presentations are now answering all the questions that people ask.
Not all of them.
Well, not all, but it was excellent, because I know that when you do the same speech over and over, this is a great way to expand it, because people are now past why.
Right.
They're now buying into it. I love it. I do. I think that's so great. Thank you for joining us today. I really am excited.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. We just started. This will be my second podcast. We have an introduction one, but yes. And thanks for everything you do for this.
You're helping.
Well,
You're helping. How can I help?
buy the book. And put your garden on the map.
Yes, please. Thank you.
homegrownnationalpark.org.
Dr. Doug Tallamy's latest book is How Can I Help? A practical guide to making your garden a haven for wildlife and helping to restore nature, 1 yard at a time. Thank you so much for listening. Our next 2 podcasts feature interviews with 2 more incredible speakers from the WHAM conference, Abraham Stone on the flora of Isle Royale and Dr. Shika Singh discussing the invasives of power, 3 species to rule them all. Stay tuned.